The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's hump day in the Riv.
Yep.
And
the day after the City Clowncil meeting.
The day after the Clowncil meeting. I know CJ called me up and was giving me I couldn't take it. After the second blow to the head with the hammer I hit myself with watching it, I had to shut it off before I caused myself irreparable harm.
Yeah. I want to apologize to our viewers for Monday. The show was in the queue to be aired, and for some reason, the system didn't pick up the show to air it at 5 o'clock. It was either human error or dastardly computers. But we're sorry that you missed the show. It is available on YouTube. Every one of our shows is available on YouTube, both live and recorded. So please, if you got a chance to watch it on YouTube, it's great.
If you missed the show, what is it, 1960?
It was show 60.
19-60, so
Yeah.
look it up on YouTube. And today's show hopefully will be aired tonight. And again, the meeting was a circus. It was, the crap was piled so high you needed an air mask so you didn't drown in the BS. They continue to talk about health care like it's an individual thing. And CJ has informed me, because CJ does do a lot of checks Facebook more often than I really don't do Facebook. I guess Dan Robillard went ballistic on the entire school department budget, and I think he was a charter commissioner that represented the people, and the only person that called that charter out, that was part of the process, called it out every step of the way. I think maybe Dan should consider a run for school committee, because I think we need somebody like Dan Robillard who's going to call it like he sees it, because I believe you said he was talking about how they don't want to identify who's an administrator and who isn't. They don't want to know how they don't want to show the salaries, because look, all they keep doing is asking for money. The city's always asking for money, and the school department loves to ask for money. And where's the money going? Not into education, not into the direct classroom expenditures. It's all about administrators and more people to get salaries. And I believe that the superintendent was talking about putting more people on. That's their answer to everything. Spend more money, put more people on. So apparently it's not working, because we don't see anything. This budget, again, I guess nobody really knows what a zero-based budget is, CJ.
Well, that's the interesting part about all of this. This was brought up by Council President Cliff Ponte, and then it was also again discussed by Councilor Sean Kadim. The health care issue was attached by Councilor Sean Kadim, and I got to give him credit for that. But Councilor Ponte noticed that every single position of the same type, like vice principal, principal, counselor, all had the exact same salary. $80,000, $80,000, $80,000, $80,000, $80,000. And he wanted to know, all these teachers are making $80,000 a year, and they're all making, no, they're not all making the same amount of money. Then how is that zero-based budget? That's zero-based budgeting, because now, if we have to eliminate a position, we only eliminate an FTE. We don't eliminate a person. It's going to equate to a person somewhere.
That's the most absurd. Look, again, if BS was bricks, our finance team and the school department and the city could build a chimney to the moon and have bricks left over, because this is absolute crap. What they don't want you to know is who they're paying the extra money to, their friends, because you have to know what somebody's getting as a salary, because it's not like a lieutenant in a fire department whose salary is fixed. That's it. That's what they get. That's their pay. Now, there are other things within there that aren't fixed, like, things that are based on how many years you've been on the job and longevity, et cetera, that are added. And those are the things that you need to see in a budget. Because in order to make a budget, you can't just generalize everything. They're trying to hide things. When they try to make everything the same, so we have a ubiquitous budget. Everything is the same, and so we're not eliminating anything. Well, if you eliminate a position, you have to eliminate the person.
Right.
I mean, that's the most ludicrous statement I have ever heard in my life. I mean, that is an absolute, talk about, look, the school department, the city needs a forensic audit. The school department needs a forensic audit 5.0 because somebody
No question about it.
Somebody, look, and I'm not too optimistic. I know that Paul Coogan's from the school department, and he's a school committeeman. And I truly believe as a taxpayer, and I'll say it to him on the air when they're running, and I'll have him on the show. I want to see as a taxpayer every single position and what the salary is attached to it. I'll go figure out who the name is because I'll find out who the principal is or who's getting paid. But I want to see where all my money's going. And don't give me the crap about we're getting money from the state, a lot of the money in the school. No, it's not. That's my money, too. It's my money, too. It's my tax dollars. I pay state tax, too. So the reality is that this is crap. This is again covering up for the salaries that they're giving all their friends, and nobody wants anybody to look at the budget and say, oh, there's one of the mayor's pals. There's one of the superintendent's pals. We heard all that stuff when we lost the last superintendent about her playing favorites and paying secretaries more than teachers.
Right.
And having $50,000 differences in secretary salaries and in various positions. That's, who cares about the taxpayer? Where's our cue? Screw you, taxpayer. That's it. Because that's all they ever do. And they don't want you to know. And now they don't even think that they're required. Well, they are, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, interestingly enough, when Councilor Ponte called him out saying it's not zero-based budgeting, he was insistent that it was zero-based budgeting. And he says, well, I want to know who gets paid what. He goes, oh, well, that's in the budget. Where is it in the budget? And, you would think that if you put this budget together, at least the CFO would know where it is in the budget. He had to look through the pages to find it.
You mean a CFO that couldn't figure out that the health care isn't a separate item?
Right.
Even though we have a group, and I got some serious questions which I'll ask tomorrow at an IAC meeting about this, because this thing never goes away. Because 3 years ago, when they had this issue, when they were running, they said they were running over budget in healthcare, which they weren't because the group was running under budget and they're part of the group. I sat down with Paul Coogan. He called me, and I explained it to him. And I believe on our show, when he was running for mayor, he said that we had a meeting, and I explained the healthcare issue to him and how it's a group. It's an absolute scam to try to make this a separate item because it's just not accurate. Talk about inaccuracies. It's like generalizing salaries. The fact is, if you look at the leper colony in Molokai, they're going to have a lot of health care costs. But when you look at the entire state of Hawaii, they might have low costs because the healthy people offset the sick people. That's why they have a group. You can't carve out people. It's called in the healthcare industry adverse selection.
Right. And
if you only look at the old people's healthcare bills, of course it's gonna look like you're running over budget. But now when you factor in all the young people, you might be running under budget. And I can tell you, as a member of the PEC and someone who attends every IAC meeting, Insurance Advisory Committee, we are running under budget. Under budget. The entire city, which means that every single employee that's in the health care plan, regardless of the department they're in, the plan is running under budget. That's why we had a negligible increase in the plan, only to cover inflation. And as a matter of fact, the retirees actually got a reduction in their Medex plan because we carved out the PDP. So I think what I'm trying to say in a very elongated fashion is this is absolute BS. With their feet, that's why I said on the other show, I don't go down there anymore. I can't take it. I'll probably get arrested if I go down there because I'll start screaming in the middle of the place. It's absolute crap. Absolute crap. Everything they tell you at these hearings is crap. And the thing that irritates me is Council President Ponte and Kadim will make very good points. However, they'll still pass the damn budget with no information for the taxpayers. The taxpayers will get screwed again. They will take the royal screwing again. And all those questions are just urinating in the wind. So forgive me if I get irritated. There we go.
Screw you, taxpayer!
I think this calls for an encore, CJ.
Screw you, taxpayer!
That's right. The double screw you taxpayer whammy. Great. And while we go, I don't know, are we, CJ?
Well, before we move on,
Go ahead.
I want to definitely talk about this because, like you said, they'll approve this budget. Councilor Kadim, when he was talking about the health care plan, he goes, I understand why you want the health care plan to be under your control. This way you can take $1 million out of it and put it somewhere else in your budget. But then you'll be short in your health care plan. He goes, you want to move the money. He said it, you want to move the money around.
And he's 100% right.
Exactly. They want to move the money around. Now, the interesting part about this, though, is they presented a budget that isn't even accurate. It's not accurate, not because of the zero-based budgeting, not because of the health care.
Which isn't zero-based budgeting. We have to clarify that because we're not going to explain it. Someday we'll have an entire show on what zero-based budgeting means.
Right.
But there's nobody that is involved in this process that they're either totally ignorant of the fact of what zero-based budgeting is, or they're lying, or probably a little bit of both. So go ahead, CJ.
Well, what's interesting is taking all of those things out of effect, they don't even have transportation numbers. They have no transportation numbers yet, but they put them in the budget. They've put them in the budget.
Well, we've got billboards in the budget with anticipate. We got all. Yeah. Look, our budget isn't. Look, how many times do we have to tell everybody out there this isn't a budget? This is a pile of crap. It's like you saying, well, okay, I'm going to make a budget and I'm going to spend $1 million this year, and I'm going to anticipate revenue from scratch tickets, and I'm going to put in that I hit the Powerball and all this other anticipated revenue, which you're probably not going to get. So is that a real budget? No. What you have to live on every month and every week is a real budget, because when your gas bill comes in, you can't pay it with anticipated funds that you don't have. Right. This is why government is a disaster, and this is why government never stops taxing, because they're rewarded for their incompetency. They have no regard for controlling their spending anymore, because the taxpayers continue to allow themselves to be taxed to death without ever getting rid of these bums. And that's the reality.
And the thing is, I guess they included $9.5 million in the budget for transportation, but the last contract thing they had was $10.1 million, I think it was. And that came down from 11.9, or was that 10.9 and came down from 11.1, one way or the other. But they had to throw out all as we said in the last show, they had to throw out all the transportation contracts. And they have to start from scratch. And they won't have those done until August. Well, the budget goes into effect in July.
Yeah.
So what numbers are real. And what's going to happen is whatever numbers are real, they're going to come back, and they're going to come back to the city council and say, sir, can I have some more?
And
they do that
exactly. I
3 or 4 times a year.
And I believe you mentioned that in the Weekend Flush.
Yes, I did.
Because I read it every week, as you know. You mentioned that in the Weekend Flush. Why does Fall River always allow things that other cities don't? You make a budget, and like I said, you go to Newton, you look at their budget, they tell you what they're going to spend their money on. And if you go in there and say that you want more money for something you should have anticipated, and it's not an emergency or unforeseen, you don't get the money. But in Fall River, our budget's BS. We all know that, because every single year, right after the budget is completed, there's a parade of people in there looking for money for things that should have been included in the budget.
Exactly.
It's like you making your budget up and not including your heating costs, your electricity, and all your basic bills. And then in the winter, when you get a $300 heating bill, you go, oh, I got to go back and ask the taxpayer for money to pay my heating bill because this is really high and we didn't anticipate it and I don't have the money. Well, if you have to. See, unfortunately, if you don't pay your bills, there's a consequence. If a city runs out of money, they just go back and shift money around and tax you some more and increase the fees. And this is the reason, like I said, geez, let's get some new... Please put some new people in there and ensure that their platform is they're going to look out for the taxpayers' dollars. I mean, it's just bizarre how people can allow this to happen year after year after year. And I feel your pain, Dan. When Dan went bananas on the school department budget, I can see how frustrated he is. And he ran for school committee once, and he didn't get in, and he should have, because he proved on the charter commission. He knows the issues, and he's a man of the people. He was against this charter. He knew it wasn't in the best. He opposed virtually everything, and he wrote a minority opinion on it. And that's why I always encourage people like him, maybe he should consider running, because I'll tell you, this is just... what are we going to have? More political hacks running? And no, we need people that are going to look out for the people. And I guess I'm going to have to go track Dan's Facebook page on and read that rant, because I love it when somebody actually knows what they're talking about.
Well, Danny's very passionate. That's the word I want to use. Very passionate.
To say the least.
To say the least. He's very passionate about the way he stands. And I got to give him a lot of respect for that, because with Dan, you have no question about where he stands whatsoever. It's up front, clear cut, and right up there. And personally, if I was on the city council, I would vote no on approving this budget for the school committee. I would say, no, we're not going to do it. Take it back. Bring it back with correct numbers. Bring it back with correct numbers. But you see, they wait till the last minute. Because right now, they have to have this budget ready for July 1st. So they're waiting till the last minute. Well, you can't wait till the last minute. You can't wait till the last minute, but they do anyhow.
But they do, because they don't want anybody to know anything and ask really pointed questions. And also, it doesn't matter, because as we know, the budget's a crock. And I just got a text, and I believe you did too.
That the agendas don't dictate which departments are going to be addressed on what night? Yeah, that's true.
That's true. And he also said he doesn't include gas and electric in his personal. But, well, then again,
that was a joke.
Whoever's paying your gas and electric, call me. Maybe we can get the city to pay all our gas and electric. What the hell? They can put it in their budget and then tax everybody else, so we can all be in the same boat. Hey,
Well,
isn't that socialism?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But you know what's very interesting? That's Patrick Higgins, by the way, that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Patrick filed an open meeting law complaint against the city council and the school committee because the school committee failed to notify the public 48 hours in advance that they were going to be at the city council meeting. And 4 members of the school committee were present, which is a quorum. And Councilor Ponte said at the beginning of the meeting, you can't all sit at the table because there's a quorum present. But just because you were not at the table doesn't mean a quorum wasn't still present. You were in the room. Therefore, a quorum was present. So Patrick asked that they make them revisit the whole budget again and do it right this time.
Congratulations, Patrick.
Like that's
I
ever
love
going to
it.
happen. Like that's ever going to happen.
Well, look. Why don't we just, it's like playing the chicken dance twice in a row at a wedding. So let's do the chicken dance again, and see how much more sophisticated the lies can become after they figured it out and looked at it and said, well, maybe we can make up more BS. But look, this is an outrage. As a taxpayer, as you should be outraged by this entire process, and you have to really question who you're going to vote for. As we keep saying, we can't change this in November. Let's see some changes here. Let's require these people, when they're coming around looking for your vote, don't look for a chow mein sandwich. Don't look for a spaghetti dinner or ham and beans. Look for a platform. Look for a position that they're going to try to actually control spending and actually spend their money wisely on things we need, like public safety and classroom education, not administrators. And with that, let's talk about another waste of money, CJ.
Are you talking about our new economic development director?
Yes. Why don't you tell us about what our new economic development director has been up to?
She went up to Boston.
Wow.
And handed out a whole bunch, like 400 business cards, to market Fall River for wind energy.
Which is an industry that's basically has been now proven it's going to basically generate nothing except aggravation for the people. And there's actually, we'll get into that one, there's another article about the feds delaying an assessment. So,
right, the Federal Bureau of Ocean Management.
So here we go again. We just hired this person, gave her a gigantic salary increase of what she was making in New Bedford. So I don't know.
Almost a 100% increase.
Almost doubled their salary.
Yeah.
And now she's like, oh, I gave out 400 business cards. Big deal. Who cares? To dig into the development of this now, would like her to dig into the development of the city pier. Of course, we know why the city pier wants to be developed, but here we go again. This is their Fall River's version of economic development. Wind energy, which now is looking at, it's not going to be the kind of panacea to everybody's problems. It's not going to generate big money because there's a lot of competition in wind energy. There's a lot of complaints about wind energy, about its optics and things, and the federal government is beginning to look very closely into this whole thing. This is not this is not a great growth industry to be looking at. So what does she do? She runs up there and gives out 400 cards. Like, who cares? And then they'll see, where is she from? Fall River. Oh, wait a minute. That's the place that always headlines the negative news. You know, people surrounding somebody with motorcycles and pistol whipping them. Now we have the worst case of child endangerment that anybody's ever seen at Rhode Island Hospital. So I mean, let's everybody run to Fall River, which was again the rather dubious distinction of being the most dangerous city in the state of Massachusetts. Go send out a bunch of business cards. You know, at least they can use them for bookmarks anyway. But again, we're trying to develop things, not develop our workforce.
Which is where economic development will occur.
That is the root of all economic development. I believe there was talk about that even during, I believe I watched part of Trump's kickoff speech, and I even think they went there a little bit about developing the workforce. I believe during his speech he said that they have entered into a program that has trained 10 million people for entries into the job market. So again, people with money are what creates an economy, not propellers out in the middle of the Taunton River. So again, here we go, wasting our time and energy, but she's dragging 130 grand down. So she doesn't care.
No, she's dragging 150 grand down. She's making $150,000 a year. She's not making chump change.
She starts with a 3-year contract at $130,000 or something. So it's a state officer making that for me. Well, the article may be, but I'm sure there's stipends and everything else.
Of course.
We can't, because then again, maybe we should just average it. But then again, that is the only average, because she's the only one in that category.
That's right. Now,
so that's the only time it'll actually be accurate, the salary.
And remember, the creation of this RDA Economic Development Director position also includes salaries for support staff that the city's going to pay. And the city's paying her benefits package.
And remember, we need a lot of support. She probably actually had to get a giant card holder to carry all the cards. Maybe they had a wheelbarrow full of cards. I don't know. But again,
maybe she had an assistant handling all the cards.
Let's not do what everybody else is doing to improve their economy. Let's not train our workforce to make them employable.
You mean like Gina Raimondo did in Rhode Island?
Yeah, that's right, with EB. And a lot of people right now with a welding torch in their hand making big money at Electric Boat because the state of Rhode Island decided to train their workforce. And as I said, Trump, like him or dislike him, he did mention, and we said that years ago. I think I used that's an old statistic. I think we used this well over a year or two ago when we talked about there are 10 million jobs going unfilled in the United States because people do not have the level of training to occupy these positions. And they even did it with coal miners. So again, what does Fall River do? We urinate into the propeller on the wind.
Well, you know, the thing is, you know, this Economic Development Director, Marasco, I believe her name is.
Yeah.
You know, she said, oh, I had something to do with everything that's going on in Florida. I did South Coast Marketplace. I did Amazon. I did this. I did that. And you know what? She didn't do anything. That was done by Ken Fiola. She was there to talk about the tax breaks and what may happen, be available there. But Ken Fiola already knew those things.
And it started long before even Jazel was the mayor.
Exactly. So, you know, don't feed me a line of BS, because guess what? I can smell it before it comes.
Well, yeah, and it is extremely odorous.
Exactly.
You can smell it a long way, especially when you're downwind. But again, you know, we see this. It's funny because you look at the article and you see Herald News article about, she's talking about, which she's going up and talking about the wind energy, and then in the same newspaper, we have feds delay vineyard wind assessment.
Right.
So, I mean, talk about...
And we talked about that delay.
Talk about shoveling manure into the incoming tide.
And we talked about that delay.
Yeah.
We talked about that delay a few shows back.
It doesn't matter what nobody cares. They don't care. We told them we didn't need a debt override. We've told them about everything. We told them that they were going to lose. They were going to lose the lawsuit. You were holding up they couldn't find it. And you were holding up your phone with the decision.
And how many times?
In 3 seconds.
And how many times have you told them that they're in a group? They're in a group.
But Sean Kadim was right. They're looking to scam money again.
And they always do.
And they always do. And guess whose money that is?
It's my money.
And
it's your money.
What town is the superintendent running back to every year? Every day after he's done with work?
I don't know. So he's somewhere up in the North Shore, isn't he?
Oh, he's somewhere. But I can tell you one place he's not.
He's not living in Fall River.
Not in Fall River.
That's for sure.
So.
Hey, Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on Friday.
Yeah.
Stay angry and keep watching those city council meetings. If nothing else, they're a great comedy show.
But remember, take Pepto and wear a helmet.
That's true.